Hey guys, it's Professor Pro, and welcome to episode 3 of Show Me Your Moves. This episode is coming out fairly early because I already have other videos planned for later dates in the month. I want to take a brief moment to apologize for everyone who's begging me for Steve, because this was originally going to be his episode. I got pretty far into the moveset, but then, unfortunately for him, I played Untitled Goose Game. Untitled Goose Game is an indie game created by House, in which you play as a goose whose sole purpose is to ruin everyone's day. I hope you'll forgive me for wanting to create a moveset for Goose as soon as humanly possible. So, without further ado, let's get into how Untitled Goose could work in Smash. When it comes to stats, I wanted to make Goose as accurate as possible to how he feels in Untitled Goose Game, or UG for simplicity's sake. Luckily, one of the main things that you do in the game is run, so we can judge his level of speed pretty fairly. And as people who've played the game know, Goose is not very fast. In UG, you're tasked with outsmarting the humans in town rather than outrunning them. So, to fit with this, I gave Goose a pretty low run speed stat of 1.525, putting him just above Simon and Richter. I also made him a lightweight since, he's a goose, and gave him an extra jump because, once again, he's a goose. I didn't want to give him too many jumps considering we never actually see Goose fly in UG, but considering he has wings, I thought 3 would be appropriate. Now, moving on to the moveset. There are only 2 things I was thinking about while creating Goose's moveset. One, how to make him represent his game properly, which isn't anything special since I do that for every character on Show Me Your Moves, and 2, how to make him as annoying as possible. In UG, your only goals revolve around causing chaos and annoyance for all the humans in town. So, while making all of Goose's moves, I had all the characters I hate playing against in the back of my mind, thinking of ways I could add him to that list. And, well, I think it worked. I wouldn't want to play against this guy. As a side note, whenever I say that Goose hits someone with something, just assume he's holding it in his beak. Holding stuff with his wings would be very awkward to look at. With that out of the way, let's get into the moves. Goose has a multi-hit jab. 2 pecks with his beak before transforming into a lightning-quick flurry attack, similar to the Kazooie part of Banjo's jab. His dash attack has him lean down and run forward while kicking a soccer ball. This would give the move pretty good range, sort of like Villager's dash attack. Goose himself does more damage than the ball, however, so it's better to be closer to your opponents while using it. His forward tilt is a frontward stab with the groundskeeper's keys, an item that Goose is commonly seen with in the promotional material for the game. The move is very fast and can be used to hit opponents consecutively. His up tilt is an upward slap with his wing. This move isn't as quick as his forward tilt, but works well as a combo starter, sending opponents into a good angle for follow-up attacks. Goose's down tilt has him pluck a carrot out of the ground. It's a little slow, but has pretty good range for a tilt attack. Goose's neutral air has him spin with both of his wings out, an attack similar to Ivysaur's Nair or Wing Whack. The move isn't as fast as either of these attacks, but this is made up for by doing more damage. His forward air has him chuck a dart forward with his beak, being one of the few aerials in the game to use a projectile. The move would be most comparable to Villager's Nair, except slower with longer range. Goose's back air has him poke behind himself with a toy plane, an item that belongs to the Glasses Kid in UG. This move wouldn't have very good range, but would come out quickly. For his down air, he frantically kicks his legs, sort of like Yoshi's down air. The move would be a staggered spike. Goose's up air is a quick skyward swing of a picnic blanket. Every now and then, additional items might fly out to hit opponents, such as an apple or a sandwich. Goose's forward smash is a powerful sideways swing with the groundskeeper's hammer. The move is very strong, but ends up being pretty slow since the hammer is relatively heavy in Untitled Goose Game. His up smash is an upwards poke with the rake from UG's famous Rake in the Lake mission for $1 million. After going up, the rake will fall forwards to the ground, giving the move an insane amount of range, sort of like K. Rool's up smash. However, just like the hammer, the rake is a fairly heavy item, so the move ends up suffering in the speed department. For his down smash, Goose slams both of his wings on the ground on opposite sides. Unlike his other smash attacks, this move is actually extremely quick, so it's the best smash attack to use to get someone off of you. Ah yes, the specials. Definitely my favorite part of these videos since it's where I really get to be creative. For Goose's specials, I try to think of some entirely new ideas, as well as combining some of those thoughts with types of specials that already exist within Smash Ultimate. I hope you guys approve of what I ended up choosing. Goose's neutral special is called Honk. There's no way I couldn't include the Honk as part of Goose's moveset, considering it's his most iconic ability in UG. When used, the move has a similar effect to Mewtwo's down special. Honk next to someone and they'll be stunned. This attack doesn't stun as long as Mewtwo's does, but it makes up for this by actually doing a decent amount of damage. The move's biggest plus is that it does incredible damage against shields, making it your #1 option if you're trying to break them. Goose's side special is called Bottle Rocket. When used, a bottle will appear around Goose's beak. He'll then shoot it off with a snort. This move is insanely fast, but doesn't do very much damage. It would be best comparable to Samus's missiles, except much speedier. The move also has really good range, being able to travel the entire length of Final Destination before breaking and falling to the ground. Because it's so quick, the move is easily spammable, which wouldn't be very fun to play against. You ever play against a Samus that only uses side B? Yeah, not fun. Like I mentioned earlier while talking about jumps, despite playing as a Goose, there isn't any time in Untitled Goose game where you fly or even flutter. Vertical height is never achieved within UG, so when thinking of a recovery, I had to get a little creative. Goose's up special is called Box Jump. The move starts you off hiding in a box, similar to what you have to do to sneak into the pub in UG. Like Banjo's up special, this move can be charged to give you more distance. Once you let go of the button, Goose will go flying out of the box, frantically flapping his wings. Unlike Banjo's up special, the move actually has a hitbox when Goose shoots out. This, in addition to the reduced damage that he receives while inside the box, makes Goose's recovery pretty solid. His down special is called Walkie Talkie. When used, Goose sets a walkie-talkie onto the stage. When down B is pressed again, he'll honk into his own walkie-talkie, causing the noise to come out of the one he placed before. If an opponent is standing near the walkie-talkie when this happens, it'll do major damage. In a way, it's sort of similar to Snake's C4, except for one significant difference. The device doesn't disappear after the first use. Instead, the walkie-talkie stays on the stage until it's either used 3 times, or is active for more than a set time limit. Like I said before, the move is extremely powerful, but it is very visible. No one will forget where it is, so instead of banking on people forgetting where you placed it, like Snake and Isabelle, the move is more about placing the walkie-talkie in a strategic place so that you can combo into it. For Goose's grab, he simply clutches the opponent with his beak. There wasn't really any other option, considering him doing it with his wings would just look really weird. His pummel has him continuously biting down on the opponent. Goose's forward throw has him drop a bag of fertilizer on top of you. This is his most powerful throw and is one of his best killing options at the ledge. For his back throw, he turns around and honks at the opponent, creating a powerful shockwave that sends the enemy flying. Goose's up throw has him bouncing the opponent on top of a closed umbrella before opening it and launching them upwards. His down throw has him bury the opponent underground with the groundskeeper's trowel. This move doesn't bury for a long time, but does more damage than most burial attacks do. Now we get to move on to Goose's most powerful move, his final smash. It's called the Bell. For those who aren't aware, the final non-post-game challenge in Untitled Goose Game is stealing a bell from a model village that was assumably built by all the townsfolk. As you try to get it back home, every single human that you've met throughout the game will chase after you should they see you trying to escape. This is what Goose's final smash is based off of. When activated, the game shows a cutscene of Goose carrying a bell, running past the opponent who the final smash was activated on. A stampede of angry townsfolk follow behind, trampling the fighter and sending them flying. I think this final smash not only does a great job at representing Goose himself, but also the game entirely. The townsfolk are a huge part of UG, and add so much charm to it, so I knew I had to get them into the moveset in some way or another. Even though I've done a pretty good job so far in regards to making Goose feel like a new fighter, I still thought there was more I could do to make him feel different. So, when you want to make a character feel original, what do? Why, add a gimmick, of course. Goose's gimmick is the ToDo List. The ToDo List in Untitled Goose Game is what keeps you in check. It keeps track of all your goals, including the ones you've already achieved. Because it's such an integral part of the game, I wanted to include it in Smash in some way. And that's when I got my idea. Throughout the battle, Goose will always have a scrap of paper above his character icon. This is a piece of the to-do list. The to-do list scrap will always have some sort of challenge for Goose to complete. These can be general tasks like making opponents trip or spiking them off the stage, or the challenges can be character specific, stuff like hitting K. Rool with his own crown. After completing a challenge, Goose's attacks will become more powerful. This turns his playstyle into something unlike any other Smash fighter, as you have to constantly be paying attention to ways that you can complete a goal to get that power boost. If you get a challenge that seems too difficult, you can change it by pressing B while shielding. This all seems great, but Goose's power level resets once he loses a stock, so if you're already at a high percent, it might be a smarter idea to forget about the to-do list for a while. Goose's ledge attack is a simple roll forward followed by a peg of his beak. His get-up attack has him aggressively flap his wings as he gets back on his feet. His stage entrance has him poke his head out of a bush and look around before emerging, a reference to how he first appears in Untitled Goose Game. Goose's side taunt has him aggressively honking into a harmonica, creating an incredibly annoying and infuriating sound. His up taunt has him throw a hat into the air and catch it on his head. The hat that he uses is actually randomized, and references various townsfolk in Untitled Goose Game. It can be the groundskeeper's hat, the old man's hat, the sun hat, etc. Goose's down taunt has him throw a bar of soap onto the floor. If an opponent runs into Goose while this taunt is activated, they'll trip. This makes the taunt a surprisingly useful tool that won't be able to be used in quick play because for some unknown reason Sakurai decided to remove taunts from the mode. Seriously, why is that a thing? Getting teabagged feels just as bad, Sakurai. Goose's first victory screen has him inside a picnic basket, making it jump up and down before bursting out of it and posing. His second victory screen has him ringing the bell frantically before tiring out and sitting on the ground. And finally, Goose's third victory screen has him throwing a flower into the air and catching it in his beak. Just like with his hat taunt, the flower can vary between different types seen in the game, a reference to one of Ugg's challenges to collect every type of flower in town. Now, we may be done with Goose's moveset, but as consistent viewers of this show know, that's not where we end off. For some reason, while creating Goose's ults, I felt a strange lack of inspiration. Like for some reason, there wasn't enough potential in the skin department. I soon realized that was because he only has 3 main body parts that would look normal if their colors were changed. Even so, I tried to make some references with the costumes. The first is a reference to the groundskeeper in the garden, the second is a reference to the shopkeeper on High Street, the third is a reference to the waitress in the pub, the fourth is supposed to look similar to a picnic blanket, the fifth is a simple color swap, the sixth is supposed to reference the bell, and while the seventh may look demonic, it's actually created as a reference to the game's logo. These aren't my favorite costumes I've ever made, but if I had to choose, I'd say that the waitress ult and the color swap ult are my favorites. There was really only one option when it came to choosing Goose's stage. Sure, High Street is fun, the back gardens are pretty, and the pub is well designed, but when thinking about what represents Untitled Goose Game the best, the garden was an easy choice. The garden is a stage with a similar layout to the Garden of Hope. There's various hazards such as rolling pumpkins, falling leaves, and other items. The main hazard is the groundskeeper himself, who will try to shoo you off stage if he sees you. Luckily, there's tons of different places to hide from him, like in the bushes. I think the garden would work really well as a stage, and would be the perfect one for Goose to bring with him to Smash. Untitled Goose Game doesn't have very much music. The music it does have is really good, but it's sparse. The game does this really cool thing where the music amps up depending on how much mischief you're causing, but I can't see that working well in Smash. Because of this, I chose to include 3 tracks, 2 of them being remixes. The first one is a medley. I think it makes sense to include one since it would really represent Untitled Goose Game as a whole instead of just one area. I added the garden since it's the stage I chose, and I added the bell because it's genuinely tense and scary. Perfect for an intense Smash battle. Anyways guys, I think that's about it for this episode of Show Me Your Moves. What would you guys think about Untitled Goose joining the Smash Ultimate roster? What changes would you make to my moveset? Let me know in the comments below. Professor Pro, out.